Hey there YouTube, I've been wanting to do this review since Auto Assembly. Now, there are a couple of figures that I purchased at Auto Assembly that have become my standout favourites. And I'm sure most of you are thinking that one of them is probably Gigastorm. Much as I love him, no, he is not one of my favourites from Auto Assembly. He's great, I love him. But there are two that have really stood out that I just haven't really put down since coming home. And they are Dark Scorponok, whom I reviewed earlier, and this guy. Now, I got this guy in a double pack with a recolor designed to represent the Autobot Springer, who should be winging his way to Paul, Destruction Snake Pit, at some point, I certainly hope, once I've got a suitable box. This chap. This is why I bought the double pack. This is Ratbat. And I believe it's a recolor. I don't know whether it's a remold as well, whether there's a slight remold. I don't know. I don't know enough about the original toy. This is a recolor of a Cybertron toy whose name escapes me. But my God, is it appropriate for this character or what? It's in fact perfect. You'd think that this mold was created to represent Ratbat. You really would. It is perfectly appropriate for the character. Now, I'm sure most of you know that Ratbat was originally a G1 Transformer, one of Soundwave's cassettes. Quite a minor toy by all accounts, reasonably obscure, but in the comics he was made into something far more significant. Originally he was the Decepticon fuel auditor on Cybertron, and he seemed to hold quite a high rank despite his diminutive stature. Later on he held the highest of ranks. He became the commander of the Earthbound Decepticons. Yeah, one of Soundwave's cassettes became the commander of the Decepticons, joining the ranks of the likes of Megatron and Shockwave and Scorponok. Very, very weird. Now, in the Dreamwave War Within comics, that was paid homage to in the Dark Ages series, when owing to the disappearance of Megatron and Optimus Prime, the Autobots and Decepticon factions splintered into various different sub-factions. You had the principal Decepticons, led by Shockwave. You had the Predacons, insofar as we're aware, the first time chronologically that term is used, led by Starscream, who are basically a bunch of lunatics and malcontents. And you have a group led by Ratbat called the Ultracons. They are a small faction, but highly, highly elite. And in that continuity it was established that Ratbat has a particular enmity with Springer and a group called the Wreckers. And at that point, Ratbat has not become the diminutive cassette that he will become later. He is in fact a fully fledged and rather powerful looking Decepticon. Very uncompromising, calculating, and rather brutal in his methods. And that sums up Ratbat to a T, really. He is a self-absorbed materialist. He calculates and sees things in terms of their profit and deficit and makes whatever decision is best for him. That's pretty much all you can say for him. Sadly, we didn't get to see a great deal of him as the leader of the Ultracons. It would have been very, very nice to. I would have liked to have seen a lot more of his character. But sadly we did not, and apparently that's what this remold was based on. You can sort of tell from the blurb that comes on the back of his box, which basically describes a scene that occurred within the Dark Ages comic. However, there is a later incarnation of Ratbat in the comics, and that's in the IDW comics, where he's even more significant, arguably. In the Megatron Origins comic book, Ratbat is a councillor. He's one of the High Council of, is it Kion? I don't know, one of the Cybertronian city-states, and I believe it is Kion. And he's utterly corrupt. Utterly corrupt. His function is obviously to assess and regulate Cybertron's economic and commercial infrastructure. And he's very, very good at it. However, he's also monstrously self-absorbed, and in the interests of furthering his own agenda, which we don't really find much out about in the Megatron Origins comic book, I'm hoping there will be something that will elaborate on it later, maybe a spotlight Ratbat or something to that effect. We find out that he's the one who agitates the discontent, the social discontent that eventually leads to the formation of the Decepticons. So Ratbat, in the IDW universe, is responsible. He is responsible for the war on Cybertron, for the formation of the Decepticons, for the creation of Megatron as he becomes the tyrant of Cybertron. It's all down to him and Soundwave. And that really makes him one of the most significant characters in Transformers ever. Very, very interesting. Now, the toy, getting down to the brass tacks, the toy itself. I wanted this toy ever since I saw pictures of it because it's a rare example of an absolutely beautiful toy. In both modes, it's just gorgeous. Colours, very reminiscent of G1 Ratbat. In fact, exactly the colours of G1 Ratbat. They're a little lighter, the magenta is a little lighter, but in fact on this camera it comes off as a bit pink. It's not, it is actually rather deep, and it has a sort of glittery effect as well, which is very, very nice. Sculpted detail all over him, offset by black and gold. He's wonderful, and this jet mode, this Cybertronian jet, definitely refers to his later Bat incarnation, which comes about because in the IDW comic, Soundwave betrays him. He shoots him point blank in the chest, takes his spark and implants it in the cassette body, reprograms him into basically a slave. Because Soundwave knows which way the wind's blowing, and the wind is blowing in Megatron's direction, not Ratbat's. But there he is. He doesn't have any gimmicks that I know of in this mode at all. He doesn't have any moving parts either in this mode. He is just a beautiful, beautiful piece of work, a beautiful Transformer. I adore it. In fact, this is fast becoming it's right up there in my top 10, this one. This is definitely in my top 10 Transformers, not only because of its aesthetics. It's beautiful, by the way. It's worth owning just to have and to hold and to admire. It's absolutely beautiful. But its transformation, that some people have condemned as overly complex, I entirely disagree. I found it incredibly intuitive, very easy to work out without instructions, and monstrously satisfying. It's reasonably complicated, but you know, I gave this to one of my friends recently, my friend Leo, to transform, and he's not a Transformers fan at all. He was just curious, and he managed to transform it without any problems. So, you know, he's never had his hands on the damn things. So, meh. But yes, I would have bought it on the strength of this mode alone. It's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. But the transformation, it's fun to transform. It's not like Universe Galvatron, which looks good in both modes, but it's horrible to transform. This is fun to transform, and he looks beautiful in both modes. And I will take him to robot mode right now.